are the update that so many of our listeners have been asking for, whether they're emailing or leaving YouTube comments. Everyone wants to know how our Meg, Miss Meaghan Hill, Dr. Glenn and Phyllis's daughter-in-law, is doing in her, like we said, it's not a fight, like winning this battle of cancer. We are just shy of a year of diagnosis. So we just wanted to come on and give an update. I have Meg with me today, and I have so much joy that I get to have this conversation with her and share what this experience has been like and speak to people, whether maybe you yourself are battling a disease, cancer, an autoimmune disorder, or you have people close to you that are, I think every single person has someone that they love that is in the trenches with their health. And so that is where we are going today. Welcome to the Connection Codes podcast. This is the podcast where we break open the emotions that take us from being disconnected to connected in our relationships and in ourselves. I am your host, Tera Wages, and joining me today is the most amazing Meaghan Hill, daughter-in-law of Dr. Glenn and Phyllis Hill, who are the founders of the Connection Codes, the Guide to Human Connection. And we're so glad you're here. Meg.
Yes.
First, thank you for being here. I'm already trying not to cry.
I know it's probably going to be a little bit of a teary episode.
But in my defense, I've cried when we've talked for years.
Yeah.
We hung out like last January before the diagnosis, and I got to your house and we hugged and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm crying. And you're like, I'm crying. And so that's always been our thing, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I got to know you through working with Dr. Glenn and Phyllis, and it was an instant, at least on my side.
Me too.
It was love at first sight, instant connection, and we worked together for a while and just have been champions in each other's corner. And so last year, February was like the 6th. Your appointment was early in the month.
Yeah, I had moved it a couple times because I was just like, yeah, I'm fine, whatever. I think it was either the 6th, I don't know, but it was right around here, very close. It's actually kind of giving me a little get a little PTSD from coming around that time. So yeah. It's been a wild year. So
yeah, I could imagine that, because even when we had lunch that day, it was like 2 weeks before your appointment.
I wasn't eating at that point.
You weren't eating, but you were also debating canceling the appointment.
Yeah.
And I was like, Meg,
don't do it.
Do not cancel this appointment.
Do not cancel your colonoscopies.
Yes.
Do not cancel them. It was a wild moment because I had kind of been trying to figure it out since August.
Yeah.
So really it's been over a year, just trying to get through it, trying to be like, what's going on? I'd seen, 6 doctors at that point.
Yeah.
Everybody had said it was, anxiety, whatever. This is a huge testament that if you think something's wrong, it doesn't matter. You find someone who finally listens to you.
Yeah.
And even that story, it's rectal. If I wouldn't have found him, he was the only one that goes, you know what? A lot of people your age have this. I think you're fine.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. So, and that was about this, right about now. So I was even so my 40th, it's coming up on Saturday. And I was like, I just want to kind of get past my birthday, whatever. But I was so sick that it didn't really matter. Life throws some weird things. And this was a very weird one. So
yeah. And so tell our listeners, if they're not caught up to speed, just a little bit about the initial diagnosis and what was happening for you in that moment.
Well, the initial diagnosis was after the colonoscopy. I was coming out of anesthesia. They're like, hey, so you do have this problem, but you also have this problem. And I was just like, excuse me? I'm 38 years old. No, I don't. And then I remember looking over at Sky and being like, what is he saying? My brain shut down so much. I couldn't take the words in fully. Thank God for nurses. They just really are the hands and feet of Jesus. Salt and light of the world, especially oncology nurses. But they are just incredible, incredible humans. I don't know how y'all do it, but whoever's a nurse, thank you so much, because you've dedicated life and you've dedicated like time away from your family to help others. So anyways, the side note, she kind of helped me. She's like, it's okay. Like, he's a really good surgeon. This is going on, but it'll be okay, you know? So then after that, I had to get CTs, MRIs to check to see if it went anywhere else. Well, come to find out it did. And the doctor sat me down and was basically like, you need to go make memories because you're basically not going to be here. And he kept going on and on and on. And finally I had to say, that's enough. It's just enough. So Sky was not doing super well. He did not do well on the ride home. And
Understandably.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, duh. Like, but I just looked at him and I said, it doesn't matter what they say. Like, we're just going to get through it, you know?
Yeah.
Then I got my port placed in February. We went on a week beach trip, which I actually had this moment in bed the other day and I was like, whoa, how crazy is the mind? Because I thought about, you know, you're at the beach and you open the doors, all of the wind comes in. It's just like the most beautiful. I had a panic attack because I was like, all the smells, all the thoughts, I was like, how am I going to go back to the beach?
Wow.
You know, like my mind can remember what was the smell was in that moment. And it was just so I'm just like, whoa, that's so crazy that the mind can do that, you know?
Yeah.
I came back the next day. Our house had flooded. We had just built this house. It flooded. Our car, it was just like, what is going on? Oh my God. Like even my daughter, Addie, was just like, Mom, what have we done wrong? Like, what have we done? And her little brain, I'm like, even though she's young, I've had those thoughts too, you know, of like, what did we do? Like, and it's like, well, life doesn't work like that. The next day I had my biopsy. And in that, I had a doctor that finally said, I can help her. And he was doing the biopsy to basically see what was going on with the liver. Well, when he found out, when he went in, he, at the time, thought that I had cancer all over my peritoneal. He cried with my husband. He cried with Sky. He's just a really great surgeon. And he was like, she's just not going to be here very much longer, you know? And it was like, we brought that up in our initial video, but we didn't really say what that meant because in my mind, it was like, it's just not going to be true. So I'm not even going to like put the energy there. And we held that diagnosis for about 2 months, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then come to find out after that, the final pathology came back and it was like, hey, that's not cancer. Which is huge. Like
because that's a 2-month lifespan.
Basically.
The diagnosis that you were given gave you roughly 2 months.
Exactly.
And that entire time you held on to it. That's what was said to you. But you as Meg, you never accepted it.
No. Like I actually told the doctor, he called me because I think this is funny about men and women, but he was like, hey, let's just tell her while she's under anesthesia because she won't remember. I'm a woman. And I remember everything. And I heard everything and I took it in. And like, he was just so precious. Like he held my hand by my bed coming out of the OR. And he called me the next morning because I woke up and I'll never forget the look on Sky's face. It was just like, it's done.
Yeah.
You're done?
Yeah.
And I just said, well, then why would I do chemo then? Like, why are they telling me to do that? You know, whatever. I was just like, that's so dumb. Like, that's ridiculous. So he got on the phone with us. So he goes, I want you to know, like, kind of where you're at. And I said, I hear you, but I just don't accept it. Mm-hmm. And he, on the phone, even in the room after he did the procedure, and Sky has had to be in so many dark rooms. That man has had to deal with more than no one in their lifetime should have to deal with what he's dealt with. And they brought him in. He even said that day, you know, he said, I think y'all will get through it. And I told him the next day, I said, we're going to get through it. And that day, even to me, goes, miracles happen. I think we shared this on the video, but things happen. I had a talk with him in the summer, which was past the 2 months.
Yeah.
And he goes, I can't believe we're having this conversation. And it was just this moment of like, if you get a really bad diagnosis, sometimes people do go, like they pass on. But I think your brain is really...
Yeah, talk about that. Because you did say that there have been times where he told you that he will give someone a diagnosis.
And they'll die in that room. Yeah. Not actually...
But like he watches their
life.
Spirit die.
Yeah. And I think with cancer, I think with anything that's chronic, you know, you kind of are just like, gosh, how am I going to get through this? That kind of thing. I think it's your mental space that can, I'm not going to say it takes the pain away because it really doesn't.
Yeah.
It just lets you put one foot in front of the other. And going through this, I've met, like we talked about earlier, several people with this, and we talk a lot. And I hate watching them in pain too, but it's like, just put one foot in front of the other, just keep going. And I think if you can do that, it does help the diagnosis. I'm not saying that it will like take away a horrible diagnosis, because I actually did have a really rough moment. I can't remember when it was. I think it was in the fall. A friend of a friend had what I had, and then she got the diagnosis I got at the beginning, and within 2 weeks she was gone because it came back. So I'm not saying it's everything, but I do think it does get you down the road, and I think it makes you look for things differently. Maybe you search, maybe you research a little differently because you're like, well, not going to happen to me. So, you know, that was a really big thing for me.
Yeah, I definitely think that that is one thing that stood out tremendously of like, even that day where you got this is terminal, this is stage 4, we came out to the property, and Sky at that point, he was like, she hasn't cried. Like she is determined. And then you and I sat down at the picnic table.
Yeah, it's okay.
And you were like, nope, there's no option. Like you started crying with me. You're like, Tera, there's no choice. I don't have a choice in this. I will live. I have kids, period. Like there's no choice. Yeah. And in that moment, you made up your mind. And we've had so many conversations of you're like, okay, research this drug, research this. And you've utilized your community, your network to uncover every single stone. Yeah. You have not left a single stone uncovered. Yeah. And I think that goes to, one, the community people around you, your husband, how well y'all can communicate and connect, and your kids.
Which
and then,
that wasn't always pretty. I will say that.
Yeah. Like there were highs and lows for sure. Yeah. But also just your own ability to like know your truth and know what you are willing to accept and not accept.
And, you know, I think I've kind of thought through what creates that in a human. I've kind of thought about some of the things, you know, maybe we would talk about. And I wanted to encourage, moms are so good at nurturing. You know what I mean? Yeah. My dad instilled this thing at a very young age of like, you can do anything. And one of the things when I would have bad days, he goes, she's forgetting how strong she is. And I just want to encourage dads and moms too. But like, there is this something about when I didn't feel great about myself, or, you know, middle school's a little weird. Like, let's be honest.
For all of us.
High school's a little tough. And there was never a time that I had that feeling of like I was less than. And I think sometimes that helps you in a situation like this. I don't know if this is making sense, but just go, I don't care. Yeah. I can do it. And I think that there's been so many things, but I thought like, what was the mental side? Like, what was the mental sturdiness? That's not really the word I want, but like toughness maybe. Yeah. And I do think having that is such a big deal. And I think it really does help in times of like, I can't do this, you know, when you've had that as a child, you can. It does, you know. Yeah.
That's actually incredibly encouraging to hear, because when you're in the trenches with your kid, you don't believe, is anything I'm doing affecting anything? Yeah. And so, and recognize too that you got that from your dad. Like your dad saying those words of like how strong you are. And even when you are struggling, you're just forgetting how strong you are. You know, just that gentle reminder, I think is powerful. And
like my mom did a ton of stuff too. It's not that.
Obviously,
it's just, it was that. I don't know. I think dads sometimes forget how special their position is. Because I think as moms, like we're just like so connected to our kid, you know, like we just know everything about them. They need us, you know, and they don't always say that to dad maybe. But I think I don't know. I just thought that was a cool thing.
Yeah. I don't think dads get enough credit in their parenthood role.
Yeah.
Yes, I can totally see that. Yeah. So update us on how things have progressed, like where you are now.
So my first round of treatment was tough. Like, I mean, sent me to the hospital, 4 or 5 times with neutropenic fever, which if you don't know what that is, your levels, your neutrophils in your body can go so low that you can go into sepsis. So that was a little scary because there were times where my neutrophils were at 0, which you want them to be over 3,000. No one cares. But so that was really tough. I thought I just started feeling better and better and better. And I was like, oh, it's gone. Then you keep going to the CTs and you're like, it's not gone. So we got through 12 rounds of that. Things have progressed very beautifully. Like they've shrunk every time except for one. And that was stable at least. So that was like great. Now I'm on immunotherapy, chemotherapy. They have kept just shrinking. So your CEA, I've learned a lot of new terms, is your cancer marker, supposed to be at 3. Mine's at 3.5. So that's an incredible thing. That doesn't mean that the tumors or lesions are gone in the liver, but I think it does correlate. My doctor said it correlates.
But it was at like 100.
220.
Not that long ago.
Oh, 120. Yeah, it was
Like it
in
nosedived.
December. It nosedived,
Yes.
yeah. I hit a really bad moment, probably in the summer.
Yeah.
And I remember I've talked to our church that we go to, and I was just like, it just truly was like, I don't know. I don't know one way, I don't know the other. I wrestled with God a lot during that time. It was very much like where are you? Why did you do this to me? And I think that's something that I would love to say to people that are going through that. I thought he couldn't handle that or would like disown me. You know, like sometimes in our faith, we feel like we have to be perfect or it doesn't work. That's not true. And I think that in that moment, what I've seen God show up the most in is people. And I feel like we all have him within us and we can actually bring God to people by human interaction. Every time I've had that, it's been a very clear, someone steps in and says something that needs to be said. And I think that God uses those people. Well, we were in church and all of a sudden the song, Can You Imagine with all the faith in the room what the Lord can do? And I looked around at all those people and they were like, they have prayed me through this. They have gone on there. So many people. I would say, there's people around the world, like people in Germany are praying for me. And it's just like, oh my gosh, the fact that I matter enough to them to even pray is amazing. But after that line, I was like, I can do that. And so like, it like picked me back up. And I think that was really good because I was kind of, you just walk through pain for so long and you just can't. Yeah. It just wears you out. So right now I get a CT scan on February 11th. I have one more chemo and immunotherapy, which has been so amazing. Like it's been so much easier. I have had really bad sores, but comparatively to being like chained to a bed, I'll kind of take it. So I would love for it to be ready to be taken out and get back on my way because I'm ready to be back on my way. So yeah.
I know that there are so many emotional highs and lows. Like I can't imagine the intensity of that roller coaster.
Moment by moment. Yeah. You know, like it's so weird. Like one second you'll be sad and the next you're like, no, actually I'm angry. And then you're like, but I'm still here. And then you feel joy. It's like you can feel all the core emotions really within a 5-minute span. It's so crazy.
What have you found has helped you the most in those moments? I know hearing like your faith has played a huge role.
Yeah, huge role.
But what else has like helped you?
Friends like you and all my girlfriends. And I mean, it really is a testament to like the community you build really does walk you through some major ups and downs in life. Sky's been incredible. Like I said, we were a little touch and go there at the beginning, so that was a little rough. But like he has changed his life to a point where I can be a total jerk to him, which I feel so much guilt about. But I can be so mean and he's just like, it's okay. You know, like, why don't you go get some sunlight? Why don't you go do, and I think I can say I wouldn't have made it without him. He's done everything. I mean, he's taken on both roles. And I mean, his job is not low stress. It's very high stress. I would say being able to identify, to go, oh, I thought I was sad, but no, actually I was angry. Or, oh, I thought I was angry, but actually I was sad. Or I was feeling fear. Like, I do think that those emotions and having the knowledge of how to do that is so incredible. My kids have been really incredible. Addie is such an encourager. She's just like, but Mom, remember, tomorrow you probably won't feel bad. Like they've even like learned the days. And then Asher will come in and he'll go, hey, Mom, why don't you open up your blinds? I think it'll make you feel like it's so cool to watch them do that too. Yeah. And my dog,
Charlie.
I love him. My emotional support dog. But yeah, I would say faith, community, my family. And then, I don't know if people know this, but we live on the property we live on about 40 acres. My parents, like they've stepped in a way. And even that, you have things when you're growing up where you're like, you kind of disagree or, you go through a period of like, they're so stupid or whatever. And it's like, even that's been really healing. No, they're just there unconditionally. They will go do anything. They will take my kids anywhere, and that's just been really, really amazing.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, essentially you have survived
I'm a walking miracle, basically.
Like you were told you have 2 months, and now here we are a year later, and your cancer markers are like nosedive down. What is it? Because I know you are about to just walk out of the woods of this thing.
Yeah.
And so what is it that you don't want to forget that you're taking from this? Like so many people, they're told you have this, because we're all operating in a robot mode.
Mm-hmm.
Even like those of us that are super in touch with our emotions, like I'm in a routine.
Yeah.
My mom this morning, she was like, she was like processing her sad with me. She was like, my kids have gotten my workaholic type of lifestyle. And I'm like, well, we're all just trying to make a living, you know, like we are all just trying to get to the next day.
Yeah.
And so what is it that you want to apply to your life from this experience?
Yeah. The best thing I can say is that you look at little moments, and those are the big moments. Even walking out and seeing a beautiful sky, it's like, oh my gosh, like I get to see this sky. I think kind of like you, I was just in the motions and just moving. And now it's like everything is a gift. And I think we forget that. I read what exactly did it say? Like if you are healthy, it's a luxury. And I think we just keep going and keep like, I'm fine. And by doing that, we forget the small things. And I think that will be one thing that I'm just happy to be alive. I never felt that. Before it was like, oh, I'm scared, I'm going to get cancer. And it's like, okay. Well, you know, it was like, I always had all these fears and doubts and you know, and it has definitely opened my eyes to like, you can just be and be really happy. And you don't have to have all these incredible things happen and go on all these incredible trips. Have the best car, best clothes, best school. You know, it's like, you don't have to have all of that to just be really, really happy. The things that make you really happy are, for my opinion, the people you're around, what you can give back to others. That's been a really cool thing for me to be able to share. Like I will have so many people be like, what are you doing? It's so different. And just having where you can give back to people. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, what else really matters? I mean, I know it's fun to do other things, but I hope that I always have that of like, it's just good to wake up in the morning and not leave your family and to get to see your kids do all the things that are like, oh, that was just a normal soccer game. It's been funny too. I would have said picking up my kids from school, like, oh my God, here we go. And that's a gift now. Going to their soccer game, going to their football game, going to their dance. It's like, I would be like, okay, we got to do this. And now it's like, oh my gosh, if I can just get to dance, I'll be so happy, you know? So I would say those are the biggest things. Yeah. Just really realizing that some of the things that we think are a nuisance are actually for some people, like they would just really love to be able to do those things. So, and I had a doctor, he helped me so much from the very beginning. He got me to my surgeon and all the other people. And he said, Meg, because I was just having a temper tantrum like we all do. And he was like, people would pay millions to be where you are. And this is with a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, you know, and it's just like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's something to think about, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good perspective as well. Like even with a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, like people would pay millions to be there. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely was like, okay, should put my big girl pants back on and keep moving. So
yeah. But also, it's okay to feel sadness.
For sure.
You know,
for sure.
like,
and he wasn't saying that. It was just kind of more like
perspective.
Hey, look where you are,
totally.
You know, so.
Yeah. It is important. I think that's a good point to be. We all need to be reminded where we are. Every single one of us. Like it is okay to feel sadness in what you're in. And also what we have is really beautiful. Yeah. And whatever that looks like, there's so many gifts of life that we do take for granted.
Absolutely.
On a continual basis. Yeah.
And even like, I think sometimes we forget that, I don't know that life is supposed to be just hunky-dory all the time.
Yes.
I think there are some things. We learn so much from pain.
Yeah.
And not that we want to go through that, but like what I've seen God use in this moment that was supposed to be really bad, even the little 4 of us, you know, like I've seen such incredible growth. And you forget like, pain is kind of part of this life. We don't want that. I heard a podcaster one time, like, I don't think we're supposed to be comfortable all the time. And it's like, okay, well, something to think about. Because I think we all are striving to be comfortable all the time. Yep. I don't know that that's what we're supposed to do. So.
Yeah. No, I think that is an incredible point. Because we do. I think that's part of my goal. And like when I think through the mission of what we do here is not to eliminate pain. That is not the goal. We are not here to get rid of your pain because we grow from pain. Like you're so right about that. It is that when you're in the pain, you know how to identify it so you can actually use it for what it's trying to be used for.
I think it'll jump you light years ahead. I feel like it'll be like pre and post cancer for me.
Yeah.
Of like, I lived in a lot of fear. I lived in a lot of like, what if? And you finally go like, it's okay to grow up and go, it's okay. What ifs don't have to be your mental loop, your like mental loop.
Yep.
Like you can hop off of that emotional train and have a different perspective. And I think this has done that for me.
Yeah.
It is kind of funny. I used to be really scared driving home at night. I know this is like, whatever. I'm 39, so that should not be a thing.
You also drive like a bat out of hell on those back roads.
I am a NASCAR driver. I will say that. I call it NASCAR driving. But even now, I'm like, try to mess with me. I've dealt with it. I've dealt with enough. Come on. Like, I'll just take my hoops out. We'll do this thing, So yeah, I think that has helped me a lot.
That's what I was wondering as you were saying that a minute ago of like, ooh, is your fear of airplanes less? How was it that flight?
Well, first of all, I did do some videos where I listened to a pilot tell me what all the things were because I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yes.
Wes Wages helps me too.
Yes.
If he's on a flight, I'm like, we're good. He can take over. So anyways.
You do not want him taking over your flights right now.
But I would be okay with that. But yeah, it's like you just kind of go, well, I faced death already, so I guess if we go down, we go down. Like, yeah, it's and I think we just talked about this, but you do get a little morbid. I do feel a little guilt because people are like, what are you saying? I'm like, you got to make it funny.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we will use my cancer card for everything. I don't care if it's getting like reserved. I'll be like, so I did have a chemo treatment this week. And they're like, oh, I mean, so I don't know. I think it brings humor to it as well. So
no, I appreciate that. And humor like brings joy. And while pain is there to help us grow, joy, like we need pleasure to thrive. And so I love that. I
mean, I even will have some girlfriends that are using my cancer card, which I'm like, here, take it. Like, I'm feeling really sad. I can't do the dishes tonight. And it's like, okay, great.
Yeah. My friend has cancer. I can't.
I just can't really take care of people today. I think I need a spa day. I'm like, yes, use it. Use it.
Yes. No, I think that's very funny. I will say that when we're thinking about it like that, no, Wes stepped up a lot those are like early weeks too. I was like, I can't function. I am just drowning in sadness over here.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I did like, again, a little morbid, but because it's not funny. I don't know why I laugh, but you get to like almost walk through your own funeral.
Yeah.
And you see how many people really care. It's like so touching. You're like, what? I didn't know I did that for and I think that is something also to think about is if you feel something about someone, tell them. Like, don't wait till their funeral. Let them know how special they are. And I think sometimes we don't have our own confidence maybe, and that's why we don't share because we feel like we're less than if we share something good about someone. It's like, no, just tell them.
Yeah.
Tell them they look good. Tell them they're sweet. They've helped you,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like you start thinking about things a lot more different.
Well, I also think that people just get busy.
Oh, absolutely.
They just get caught up in whatever it is that they're doing, and it's really easy.
Slow down, though. I like to beat bop around town, and I mean, there are times where there's no beat bopping. Like, I'm in bed, and it has made me really go like, oh, I need to slow down. Yeah. Like, I think in our lives, we want our kids to be successful. We want them to try all these things. But at the end of the day, like hanging out as a family around a fire, or even watching a movie together, that's really what's good, Yeah. So, in my opinion.
No. I think that that's exactly it. Yeah. Connection is the number one thing. That is the number one desire of humans, but we've lost understanding how to do it.
Exactly.
And so it's a relearning how to connect and making that space to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's like,
well, and I think if you are able to connect with people on how you're feeling, because I think what drives us apart is like, oh, you hurt my feelings. I don't want to sit by you. Oh, they were disrespectful. I don't want to be around my kids. It's like, if we can do all of this, then there's going to be times, but it's less and less of, I don't want to be around you because you hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
So it's like, it all starts kind of with being able to say to someone, I'm really sad, or, so I think that's why all this is so important.
Yeah. Well, and that curiosity too, because I will speak to that. you and I are opposites in a lot of ways.
Very.
Like if you look at us on paper,
we should not be friends.
we should
hate each other.
Like honestly, like I probably trigger you all the time.
No, you don't. You really don't. You really don't.
But that was like one of the first moments with you where I was like, oh, this is different. And it was before I moved here, you got curious about me. Like I had said something or posted something because I'm vocal and loud and obnoxious.
You're right.
And you were like, ooh, what is this? And I was like, okay. And at first I had fear, but then I realized like, oh no, she's just asking what I think. She's just asking, how did I get here and what's happening for me? And absolutely that we get so hung up on what's on paper and the logistics that we lose connection and we miss out on opportunities to love people really well that are different from us.
And I mean, some of the people I love the most are different from me.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I just feel so much sadness that separates people so much. We're yelling at each other. It's like, no, like, it's not. I mean, especially in a pandemic, an election year, 2 election years. Did we go through 2 election years?
It feels like it because we've just been in a time warp.
Whoa,
Yes.
I know. So, yeah, it just makes me so sad. I'm like, if you can get down to it, we're all human. Like, we all have the same desires, ultimately, is to be loved and know that we're important when we show up in the room. There was Miles Adcock from Onsite. Did you see that? He had the quote of like, don't tell people why they need to show up, invite them in, and then tell them why they deserve to be there. And I was like, oh my God. Like, think about if all of us told people why they deserve to be in the room. Like, gosh, what a different world we would live in. Because right now we tell each other why we don't deserve to be in the room.
Absolutely.
And it's like, gosh, like, do we have to do this?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think if more people could do that, we would live in a different world.
Which I think you have amplified that pre-cancer. I think that you've always lived, at least in my experience with you.
I'm pretty curious about
You've
people.
always lived in that of just being open. But I can see how even this last year of what you've gained from this, the value of the connection matters more than anything.
Well, and to watch people lay that down when someone's hurting.
Yeah.
And we had a group where we were on paper, we were very different and it worked for a long time. And then things happened it didn't work for, and we all have reconnected this year. And they have sent me money. They've sent gifts. They've brought me meals. It's like when someone's in pain and you see that, you lay it down.
Yeah.
And it's like, gosh, humanity, you know, like if you can really see that, it's an amazing thing.
Well, and so I think don't wait till you're...
Oh, 100%.
Because people are in pain all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah.
Meg, would you be willing to do a core emotion?
100%.
Okay. Do you need to hold it? I like to see it. I know we're not supposed to hold it, but like put it in your lap.
Maybe it just like,
Yeah.
Okay.
So Meg is going to do the core emotion wheel, which is the tool that Dr. Glenn and Phyllis created that actually helps you to identify what you're experiencing. So when Meg was sharing earlier about being able to recognize when it's sad versus anger or what was happening to her and take the pain and utilize it, it is because she could access what was happening for her.
Absolutely. Okay. Anger. I felt a lot of anger on Saturday when I could not go to baby shower because I just had chemo.
Yeah.
And that makes me angry when I can't get up and do what I want to do. Shame. I felt shame probably in that same moment of like, honey, like, come on, we can keep it, together. It was just kind of shame of like, I let the emotion dictate what I was saying to Sky, and I felt shame in that. Guilt. Maybe that was a really big moment for me Saturday, because I felt guilt in that too, of like, I wanted to go to baby shower, wanted to go to Addie's game, I just couldn't rally, and it was just like this guilt. And then I let the emotion take over, and it wasn't very nice, so that was not fun. Fear. I probably have about 2 seconds of fear every day, where I'm like, what if this doesn't end up the way I want it to? What if my kids don't have a mom? What if Charlie doesn't know what to do? What if Sky doesn't have a wife? It's just, I definitely have punches of fear every day. Cancer is very lonely, because even though you've got all these people around you that care so much and want to do anything, they can't carry the burden. And Sky has said a lot, I wish I could take it from you. And you can't, you just have to do it. You have to walk one foot in front of the other. Sad. I mean, yeah. I feel sad a lot that I'm still dealing with it. I wish it would have been a quick fix, and it just wasn't. And a lot of sad hurt. Sometimes my eldest and I have some conflicts that are a little hurtful because he's almost 16 and I only have 2, so there you go. But yeah, he's trying to figure it out, and sometimes he hurts my feelings in the middle of it. Yeah. And then biggest joy is that I get to be here with you, do this, that my life feels like it's coming back around, that I can get out and do things that a lot of cancer patients just cannot do. So I would say that's it.
Yeah.
Your turn?
Thank you. Oh, I'll go.
Okay.
I feel guilt. I definitely have had a lot of like guilty weeks in like the last year where it's like, I'm working. And so to not be able to spend as much time or come out and be with you, I've had a lot of guilt about that. And definitely shame as well. Because as the friend, I don't want to overstep, but I also want to show like, you don't know, everything you do feels like not the right thing to do. So I've had lots of shame of like, I'm doing everything wrong.
I don't feel that, by the way.
Fear. I don't have fear now, but there was a lot of fear early on in this process. And sitting with you and being with you and knowing just how valuable you are. If you're as valuable to me as you are, like I can't imagine, you know what I mean? Like you're just so incredibly valuable to so many people. Lonely. Yeah, I will say the loneliness has been, just not knowing what to do. Yeah. And I'm outside of like your friend groups. I'm kind of a lone soldier over here. And so just the loneliness of wanting to show up.
Yeah.
Sad. Definitely seeing sadness in your pain. Because there's definitely a lot of strength, but for people that have like gone through chemo, like had people close to them, just seeing the pain up close is hard to see. Hurt. I will share that hurt with you. My children were so mean to me this weekend.
What is up?
And it was bad.
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of hurt over that. Tons of hurt. And joy. So much joy to celebrate your 40th birthday this week.
Turning 40.
Because that was a milestone that like when the first doctor said, you're going to celebrate your birthday this year, that was like a huge moment. That was like, oh, okay, somebody else is having hope for me.
Yeah.
And it's a joy that we're here and we get to celebrate you.
Yay.
So thank you. Thank you. And thank you for coming on and sharing. This topic affects everybody in some way. Cancer is so prevalent now. And for younger and younger people, like what your experience, even like the specific type of cancer you have.
It's blowing up.
It's blowing up.
Everyone, please get your colonoscopies.
Yes.
If you have any thought, because this could have been a one-day situation, early detection. I mean, I was all natural medicine. So I even get it if you're in that vein, but just don't let it hold you back. Because I think right now, for some reason, we're in a different time. I don't know what it's doing it, but I think we're having to take a little bit more precaution with all this. So.
Yeah. 1,000%. And so I think that as having this conversation, both as having you to come on and share what your experience has been, so people can see themselves in that. And then also like if you have a good friend going through, so you can see like, oh, okay, yes, I'm in this weird space too. And how can I show up and support them best?
Yeah. And I will say one more thing. So I feel like utilizing a lot of different doctors, like you said, I've kind of thrown everything in the kitchen sink at it. If anyone that hears this is going through a cancer diagnosis and wants a little something different, like I have followed all of my oncology and surgery, like I'm following all of that, but I am adding some things that I have done some research on. And the things that I'm doing extra alongside of the oncology is really making some pretty massive leaps. One of my favorite nurses, he was like, I don't really see these jumps like this. And so I think the combo of them, like don't be afraid to do something outside of standard of care, especially if you get like a stage 4.
Yeah, because you have your oncologist and then what's the other doctor's title that you see as well?
He was a surgeon. He was diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma. They told him to go home and die. I mean, literally, that's what they told him. And he was able, because he's brilliant, to put all of these off-label drugs together that kill cancer. And he put them all together, and he's been cancer-free for 25 years. So it was just kind of like, okay, when I got my first diagnosis, I was like, it's going to take more than standard of care. Not that I don't trust them, but I probably need to add a little something. And so just seeing him walk through that, he's helped thousands of people. So
yeah. And so I think that is what it is. Just don't accept the first thing, because that's something else that you found. Like, it took you 3 doctors before you found the doctor that gave you hope. And so if you have gotten a diagnosis, if you are getting a diagnosis, like, keep flipping over stones and finding things until you feel good about it. And even earlier you said, because you have your other friend that's same diagnosis, but she's doing things very opposite of you, but that's what feels good for her body.
Exactly.
And so, like, knowing where you feel comfortable and confident is key.
Well, and I think that goes back to the mental side of it. If you feel confident in your doctors or the trail you're on, that's all. And I would really also encourage people, if you know someone going through cancer, even if you're going through cancer at the same time as them, let them do their path. Like, don't try to push all this stuff on them. I mean, I've had so many people send me so many amazing articles. I'm not talking about that really. Some people probably couldn't handle that as well. But let them, because whatever they're on that they're confident in is probably what's going to save their lives.
Yeah.
So it is a weird balance, but it's just such a personal, because even though I have the same diagnosis as this friend you're talking about, we're on totally, not even our choice, like even our chemos are different. So it's just a very different thing for each person.
Yeah. No, I think that's incredible to say. And I feel like knowing you, other than the whole be curious and show up and connection part of you, if there was another thing that you would want to leave our audience with, I could hear you say, get your colonoscopy.
Exactly. I have made like 100 people get I'm like, you're going and you're going, and I'll drop you off and I'll pick you up, but we're all going.
Yes.
So, yeah, I would literally scream it from the mountain, like, just go.
Yes.
Who cares? Like, if you're done and it's all good, you're good. And if not, you early detection, now you're even better. So,
Yeah. No, I'm with you in groups of people all the time. And it's like, I've got mine scheduled. Okay, I've got mine scheduled.
I feel like I make an announcement every
You
time.
need an affiliate link for a doctor.
Who could I do that
You should create a partnership for sure.
Okay, I didn't love my first surgeon, but maybe I should.
Yeah, you should definitely
people down to him all the time.
Get an affiliate link.
Yeah.
I love you. I love you so much. I am honored that I get to know you and live life with you. You're a gift to every single person who knows you, like, honestly. And thank you for being willing to be vulnerable, because there's also other podcasts featuring Meg where you talk about parenthood and motherhood. Like, those are incredible. I've learned so much from you as a mom, but that you're willing to share this part of your life with people as well is a gift.
Yeah. And I will say this, I think this is okay to say, but if anyone ever wants to reach out to me, my goal next is to help people get through this. So if anyone ever needs help.
Okay. Are you okay if we share, is the GoFundMe page still up? If we put that in the show notes?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. I mean, we should probably update that video because it was a pretty...
Well, the video's not updated, but I'm going to put that in the show notes. Okay. So if anyone that's listening would even want to give $5, because you're still in it.
Oh, yeah.
You're not on the other side, and help with dinner, help with anything. And so I'm just going to say that out loud. Okay. That if you've listened and you've gained anything from this episode and you want to support the Hill family, like, put $5 in the GoFundMe. Like, anything goes a long way.
Yeah.
So,
and help others too. When you see the GoFundMe.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
On those too, so.
Yes. Awesome.
I love you.
I love you too. And thank you all for being here. Thank you, even as so many of you have reached out to us, to Glenn and Phyllis or myself, and have asked about Meg, and just like really shown up as a community for us as well. That has been so beautiful. And that is what's reminded me how much further this community goes and the impact that it can have. And so thank you for showing up here week after week, for leaving us those reviews. And as Dr. Glenn and Phyllis say, we do this because you need this, you deserve this.
Let's do this.
Let's do this.